Hello, I'm Joe. This is Sierra Specialty Auto. We're pretty much snowed in these last couple of days. Can't go anywhere because of the coronavirus anyway. So looks like it's time to start working on the hashtag Coat Hanger 2020 challenge presented to us by our friend Rustinox in Belgium. So I've been looking through my piles of stuff. I got a lot of piles with a lot of stuff in them. I can't find anything that really speaks to me. I have temporary access to these other piles. These are radial engine parts from vintage airplanes. These parts have all failed inspection for one reason or another. They're cracked, they're twisted, they're oversized or undersized, as the case may be. In any case, they're about to be disposed for scrap metal, and I have my pick of the litter, so to speak. So I have gone through and collected this pile of junk. And with this stuff, I'm going to stretch the definition of coat hanger a little bit, make it into a coat rack. And it may not be the ugliest or certainly not the prettiest, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't end up being the heaviest coat hanger in the hashtag Coat Hanger 2020 challenge. So let's look at the bottom and see what we're going to start with on the floor. This will be the base. It measures 16 inches. I hope that's going to be enough of a footprint. It has a bearing left in it. Feels a little rough, but goes fairly well. And I'm going to leave that in there as a feature of the part of the rack. Now, ordinarily, this would fit over a crankshaft, and the nose of the crankshaft would stick out through there. I'm going to go the other way. Here is a crankshaft. Most of a crankshaft. Here's the rest of it, counterweight that bolts on. I'm going to bolt this on and press this down in here. Well, this is a zero clearance fit. The ID of the bearing and the OD of the journal are just about exactly the same, so I'm going to have to tap this down in there. And since it's going in from the wrong end, I need clearance between the bearing race and the housing. So I made a ring, a spacer ring, to go between the crankshaft end and the bearing. And that should keep it up and clear so that the counterweight will clear the case and it'll spin. So let's get that done and get one of these crankshaft sections up on top and see how it starts to look. There's a nice rotating shaft, rotating assembly. It's fun to keep a little bit of that function working in this crazy contraption. Now I need to make a plug to fit in here on one end and in this hole on the other end, so I can stack one of these atop the other to get some height. Let's go over to the big lathe and work on that. Here is some really ugly, rusty mystery metal. Let's see how quick we can turn this into an adapter to couple two crankshafts together. The crank pins, the rod throws, are close enough to the center line of the crankshaft that I'm going to have to grind a little relief on the splines here in order for the rod throw of the next crank to clear. If I try to put it on right now, it comes up against these splines and stops. So I want to offset the counterweights by roughly 1/3 around. There's 16 splines, so I'm going to go 5 one way from center, 5 the other way from center, so that the throws will be approximately distributed to keep the center of gravity coming straight up. So I'm going to move over to my grinding area and do that, and I'll be right back. This seems like a good time to weigh these components and see what the total is going to be. I'll start with these major components right now. After we stack this up, my wife is going to come out and we're going to decide what we want to do on the top of this. And then when we figure that out, I'll weigh those pieces separately. There's 70 pounds for the base and one crankshaft. $35 for the second crankshaft. Should be $35 again for the third. $33. So far, we're right at 5 feet tall, which I think is a fairly typical height for a coat rack. Well, here's what we came up with to go on top. This is a piece of a master rod. Whacked off the rest of it on the bandsaw. A full master rod looks like this. I touched up the cut edge to get it true, tack welded it onto a link rod. Here's another link rod. These would go in here, 8 of them, to make up the other 8 cylinders of a radial engine. The master rod is connected to one piston, and the link rods are connected to each of the other 8. I machined a plug to go in the top of the upper crankshaft. When I get this tightened up, I will space these at 120 degrees, and I drilled and tapped a couple of 1/4 holes here to register in holes in the end of the crankshaft. Let's focus on the top of the stand and see how this fits. And there it is, our vision come to life, a radial engine coat rack.